Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We are now going to talk about something that I think doesn't get talked about enough in PowerShell, and that is doing networking diagnostics. And PowerShell's got actually a lot of great tools for that. When we think of PowerShell, we often think of it as a tool for managing more systems-ish things like files, processes, volumes. However, it has fantastic native commandlets for managing IP configurations, network adapters, DNS issues, performing diagnostics. And all these capabilities are combined with the power of PowerShell objects, PowerShell pipelines, and then all utilized with the familiarity of commandlets, like with parameters. So I think it's a often overlooked tool, overlooked use. It's something we do though as systems engineers, right? Uh, we're using PowerShell all the time for network diagnostic. If you're in some type of any kind of technology environment, I would think so. So let's go ahead and this section we're going to deep dive some of the different commandlets that are available for us to use related to that, and of course at the end how to generate some of those, how to automate some of those diagnostics, and also use ChatGPT to generate some diagnostic code for us. So let's go ahead and delve right into it. Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We're now going to go over how to use Test-NetConnection. And the Test-NetConnection commandlet is somewhat similar to the ping command that you might be familiar with in really any type of console, whether you're on a Linux machine, Windows, Cisco iOS, any type of device, networking device, a Juniper device, whatever, can typically run a ping. So this is that, but it's a PowerShell commandlet, and it can return an object, and it's got parameters. So let's go ahead and do a test connection, and we'll do that on, let's just say udemy.com. And as we can see, we get our standard 4 responses, and that's roughly what we would get in a ping. So let's ping udemy.com. We're getting the same things, same IP address, bytes sent, the time in milliseconds. Interestingly, looks like the test connection is a little bit faster than the ping. I don't know if that really makes a difference. It could be for a variety of factors, so I wouldn't say that it's necessarily faster, but we can kind of compare here. And it gives us some other statistics about it as well. So test connection can also work with an IP address, and the test connection can also go ahead and work like this. Let's just ping the Google DNS server, and we'll notice that it returns just a normal ping. Now you can actually ping multiple hosts, and the way we can do that is by specifying the computer name. So let's say we wanted to ping both of the Google DNS servers, or test the connection to both of them. We could go ahead and do that. And as you can see, it switched hosts right there. Pretty sweet. Definitely super useful. I could think of use cases in lots of different environments, K-12, Amazon banking, all the sectors I've worked in, where this type of layout would be pretty sweet. So we can also do some other parameters. I'm just going to go over some common ones. As with any commandlet, there are a ton of parameters. But let's go ahead and add a delay. Let's say we didn't want to ping these so quickly, right? Because maybe that will trigger some type of security measure that will just shut down the interface or block us or something to that effect. So let's go ahead and add a delay in there. We'll do a 5-second delay. And that's going to take a second to run for 8 total attempts there. But as we can see, it kind of meters this for us, and we can use that to as I mentioned, to maybe head off any potential issues that we're doing in the test connection. So we'll go ahead and let that finish. I know it's a little painful to watch that finish, but again, too, I think you're looking at the response times here. You're getting something a little bit different, right? And again, you can just tack this parameter on even with multiple hosts, which is pretty cool. So we can actually control the count too. Let's go ahead and reduce the delay here. So we just put a 2-second delay in. And we can control the count, so how many pings we're doing. So maybe let's do just 2 pings a piece. Use the count parameter. So perhaps we don't need that many iterations, but we still want to have our delay in. And you see that it pings both IP addresses with the count being reduced by the count parameter. So while that is all very cool, I want to also point out that test connection is somewhat deprecated. So let's go ahead and do a clear. It's not really deprecated because obviously it still works, but there is a better, more powerful successor to test connection, and that is Test-NetConnection. And Test-NetConnection will give us a little bit different of a result. So let's go ahead and do the Test-NetConnection of Udemy.com. and see what we get. Now see, this already looks kind of different. Waiting for an echo reply. And we see that we get a table back or a list back. And it's got what we were trying to get, the remote address, the Ethernet interface, our source address as well, if it succeeded, and the time that it took. So we can start tacking on parameters to this, but we can actually get even more information with a test-net connection. By changing the information level. This kind of reminds me of a ipconfig all, even though we're not that, but we can get more detailed information, and oftentimes a lot of PowerShell commandlets have this ability on some level. And actually, hang on. It's not information, it's information level. So let's go ahead and also would help if you put your host name in there. It's interesting that it has a default host name. I wouldn't have assumed that would work. That's interesting. But let's go ahead and do a test net connection. So name resolution results. Notice that we get more results here. And the source address in the net route is also in here. So pretty interesting. Just showing that we can get more detailed information there. And I believe too, this is a little bit easier. We can actually populate a variable to this, or populate this to a variable, I should say. Test equals, and let's take a look at our test. There are our results. And if we do test.computername, see, I tab completed that. Now I can access this as an object. If you were creating a more complex script where you wanted it to sort of save your test maybe, or just, you know, access it the way you would normally access PowerShell data in the form of an object. As I mentioned in the intro, the classic why this is great, doing these commandlets with network diagnostics is so great in PowerShell is that we get that leverage of PowerShell, right? So again, ping, reply details, and then we can actually even dig even deeper when we have, say, we can analyze the buffer. And then we get all of our buffer information there for the ping. So test-net connection, pretty cool. It definitely works very, very well, and works, you know, the way you would expect. It's really just very similar to a ping, but, you know, gives us that leverage as I talked about. So, all right, that's about it for test connection and test-net connection. Let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson. Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We are now going to do a trace route. And you might be familiar with traceroute with the classic TraceRoute I guess, command. Let's do a traceroute, a classic traceroute with Udemy.com. And I think you get the gist of that. So with our classic Udemy.com, or how to traceroute of Udemy.com, we just kind of get the results like that. So I think you can guess where we're going here. We're going to be getting an object back, right? And actually some more details even than what we're getting here. So the way we do a traceroute in PowerShell is actually to use the Test-NetConnection. And we will do that with just Udemy.com again. But we will activate the traceroute parameter, and we don't need to pass it a value. And we will see that, geez, wow, it seems a little bit faster. Yep, definitely faster. Pretty cool. It gives us back our results pretty quickly, and it gives us our whole trace route here is a property of an object, right? So let's land this out. So let's go ahead and make this into a variable. As was the style of the time. And now we can take a look at it. Again, we get the same results as always. And we can get at even more data. So we can get the remote address, which might be useful if you were putting together some type of network diagnostic where you would need to assess that the remote address was correct. Or maybe you had multiple instances of a, something like a elastic compute cluster that you wanted to figure out which one it actually landed on if you're having some intermittent issues. I don't know, tons of different examples there. Now, as we take a look at that, we see that we get even deeper down into information about that remote address. So IP address to string, and we're also getting other information about IPv6 and other things here. So definitely pretty cool. Also with this, we can dig down into the traceroute itself. And let's take a look there, and we see that we get the hops that we can access. So I believe we could iterate through these with an index if we'd like. Yep, no problem there. And obviously we could dig even deeper down at that point. You could assess where these are. You could run diagnostic information on these particular things along the route or whatever you need it to do. So definitely pretty cool. You can actually also limit the hops that you want to do. So let's go back up and do our traceroute again. And let's just use the hops parameter here. And we will just say, we just want to limit it to 3 hops. So the trace terminated at this point right here. And we see that it only gives us 3 hops as we specified, right? So again, very flexible. This is definitely a simple usage here. You could dig deeper, as with everything, with the get help and get all of your parameters. And you didn't get a whole lot right there, to be honest. Oh yeah, so we don't actually have help files for it on this machine, but definitely you could, if I were to update those right now, I'm not going to spend time doing that in this video, but I think you get the idea of how the basic usage here. Definitely there's always more. If I went through every parameter on every commandlet, this whole course would be probably 100 hours, right? So not going to do that here, but very basic usage, and you see that you get a little bit more leverage from it than a classic traceroute. So that's about it for this lesson, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And where would we be without port scanning? Welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We are going to learn how to do a port scan with PowerShell, and it's actually super easy with Test-NetConnection. Take a look at this Test-NetConnection. Do our udemy.com. Jeez, actually, I hope I don't get banned from them. Flag my IP for doing weird stuff. Let's do wikipedia.org. All right, we're going to do just a common TCP port. All we have to do with this is a common TCP port parameter, and we'll just say HTTP, and let's go ahead and give it a whirl. TCP test succeeded, remote port 80, fantastic. You gotta love how easy that is. I mean, that didn't even have to actually specify the port number, although with this will only work for, I think, just a handful of ports. I believe HTTP, Windows Remote Management, SMB, and RDP, right? So maybe FTP will work with that. Let's see if we give it a whirl with FTP. Yeah, it doesn't work with that. So again, cool that they have that parameter there. I don't know why they put it on there, but you know, forgive me, engineer who made that. If even common ones like FTP don't work. But the good news is, to do a port scan with just a regular port number, all you have to do is use the port parameter, and you can do port 80. So bam, you can do whatever port you wanted to. Port 21. Ooh. I would hope that would fail with wikipedia.org. Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, there's a failed. It gives you a fail, and it gives you a TCP test succeeded parameter that is false, right? So that makes sense. Give us a little bit of information back. It was able to ping it too. So it does validate for you that it's working, because it is still doing a test net connection when it does that. So that's pretty cool. You could actually start getting real crazy with it, and you could pipe a couple different ports into it. This will get a little complicated, but let's just say we wanted to check ports 22. Let's say we get ports 22 and 80. Well, all we'd have to do is take ports and pipe it, and this is why section 2, chapter 2, unit 2, whatever you'd like to call it, is so important, going over these loops, because in section 1 with the pipeline, so we can actually do a for each object on this. Port imports, and we'll just make that set equal to, actually we'll just do PS item. Don't forget $, underscore is an alias for PS item, and we can do a conditional even within that. Connection, and let's just go ahead and pick on Udemy again. But all we have to do now is specify the port, and that would be port, right? So with that, all we need to do is just close off this conditional, and then we do need to actually specify what we're going to do here, right? So we could do right host. So it's going to test that net connection with that port. If it's true, we want it to do this. Right host. Hey, port is open, or else port now, don't forget, if you're doing something this crazy and complicated, watch your brackets. So I've got an open bracket right now. I got to close out that conditional. And don't forget, I have my bracket here for my for each. So we'll close out that bracket too. All right. Give this a whirl, see if it works. Wow, on the first go. I kind of can't believe that actually, but this is where we start getting into the real crazy stuff, right? Where our knowledge just builds and builds and builds, and we're able to build off these really cool ideas. So it's actually testing port 22, which we would assume would fail. That failed. Didn't give me a right host for it, though. Maybe it's waiting to do that. Oh, no. Yeah, so we're still going on 22. So it gives it to me after these. So, hey, port 22 is open. And hey, port 80 is open. Now, it's interesting 22 is open. So I want to go back and actually test that. Is it actually open? That's wild. Just making sure I did my code correctly here. Yeah, that is not open. So don't know what happened with the conditional there. Test-NetConnection Udemy. Oh, hey. It's because I'm testing Udemy, not Wikipedia. Maybe it is open. Udemy. Yeah, again, remember what you're testing. I was testing Udemy here, Wikipedia here. So, it failed. There's something wrong with the conditional. Okay. Information. What if I need to edit the information level? Yeah, we might need to. Let's go back and modify this. Keep the information level quiet. And again, wouldn't be me typing if there weren't a typo. And there's a warning action parameter that we can just set to silently continue. Let's go ahead and give that a whirl. So this shouldn't kick back this information here, right? The information level. And any type of warnings, it should just breeze past, right? So I think this will leave us in our loop correctly, in our conditional correctly. Failing. There we go. That's exactly right. Yeah, so I think it giving this feedback was throwing off what was happening inside the loop, or yeah, inside the for each object loop, or with the if then conditional. But yeah, we kind of don't want it to give this feedback, right? We want it to just say, hey, do what we're supposed to here. And we could probably make that a little faster by reducing the count. But again, this is actually a pretty solid one-liner to conduct a port scan with multiple ports. I mean, really a two-liner. You define your ports. In fact, I wonder if we could make it a one-liner. And do this. This may seem tedious, but hey, this is what we would actually do as a system engineer, right? If we were going to write this and we want to make it as elegant as possible. 180, and I don't want to keep port scanning Udemy. .org. Let's give this a shot. Yeah, I mean, obviously that pipe worked. Bam, a little bit faster. 21 is closed, which we would expect. 80 is open, which we would also expect. Completely one line. You can conduct a port scan. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I mean, almost want to note that. Maybe you guys should take a note of that too. Not bad for PowerShell simplicity. This is the kind of stuff where I really love PowerShell, where it's like, wow, we're really doing a lot there for one command, and this is programming kind of brought into the shell console and doing diagnostic things that we'd be doing as a systems engineer. So, all right, guys, I think that was a great overview of port scanning. Did a little bit of coding too while we're at it, so appreciate that. And again, something we could maybe automate in the future. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson. Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We are now going to take a look at how to get IP configuration information and network adapter information. Very, very simple, as always, as with most things in PowerShell. Let's go ahead and use the Get-NetAdapter first. And if we just throw that out there, we get our network adapter. And if you don't really like that, which I don't really like that, I believe what we can do is pipe that to a format list. And we get that a little bit better, more readable format without stuff trailing off there. Definitely like that. It gives us, this would be the way you could get your MAC address. Just get other properties of it if it's up from a diagnostic point of view, the speed. If it's connected, the driver information be great. I mean, I look at this simple command here and I'm just like, what awesome diagnostic things could I do with it, right? What, just to take a look at the net adapters themselves. As always, too, you can set this to a variable. I like doing this just to demonstrate that. Adapters. And we can take a look at the net adapters. And we can start getting at the properties there, right? And that would be good if you were trying to get at a property that maybe wanted the MAC address. You could get that back. Now, if you had multiple network adapters, you would access this similarly. Each net adapter would be sort of an element of an array, right? And we would access it like this. And we can see that given that there's only one, it will do this by default. We say 0, the element number 0, right? The element index 0, I should say. So we get the same information there, which is pretty cool. And you'd want to watch this interface index too, to be able to identify the network adapter, right? But even though there's also descriptions and other information, obviously different MAC address that you could get. So that's it for the network adapters. Pretty simple overview. Could have worded this to how to get the MAC address, right? That might be the most common thing you would use that for. So to get the IP configuration, though, we would use get IP configuration. Of course, you do not use get IP configuration. Might be a good alias for it. Get net IP configuration. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that in there because, hey, we all make mistakes. And as we can see here, Get-NetIpConfiguration will return the interface index, right, that we've got our IP configuration set to. So it's pretty important. It also gives us our domain name here and the interface description that's talking about. So these are the two identifiers you can use to attach that IP information. And similarly, as always, IP info is equal to that, and we can access that this way, and we can start digging down deeper with the IP4 address. Tab complete even, as always, with PowerShell. And we can start getting even more information. How long our lease is active, the type. Again, still while attaching it to the interface index. And we can start digging down even further on all sorts of things we may need to look at. We can look at our DNS servers and get those addresses that way, right? So pretty useful stuff for in terms of IP configuration. I think a little bit more useful than the IP config that we're used to, which gives us kind of a super limited information there, and then even IP config all, really not everything, right, that we're looking for. So that is about it for this then, guys. I think that gives you a pretty good overview of what we're looking at in terms of how do we get the network adapter and the IP configuration information. I think it's important too to note that those are separate commandlets, even though they carry sort of crossover information. So thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineer. We are now going to go over how to resolve a DNS name and do some other diagnostics with PowerShell with DNS. So let's go ahead and do Resolve-DnsName. Very simple commandlet. You don't even need to specify a parameter. You can just pop in the domain name and boom, just like that, we get back the information we want. Let's format that as a list, actually. Yeah, I thought there was maybe, oh no, that's it. We're getting all the information we need there. So name, type, TTL, data link, section, IP address. So very cool. Get the A records back. This would be the type of DNS record, time to live for those records. And definitely useful if you're trying to figure out where a particular domain name is resolving to, right? And we're getting those answers back right here to the IP addresses of the servers that those are resolving to. We can also take a look at what DNS client servers we have, and to do that we would do Get-DnsClient. Let's see. I'll do a little autocomplete there, so I don't have to type the whole thing. And we'll do the interface alias. I believe it was Ethernet. I should know. We just went over this. Yep. So there we see the server addresses that we are dealing with for that. And we can pop that into DNS serve. And we could even do DNS serve dot server. Oh, wait. So because we're getting multiple interfaces back, let's look at the first one. Server addresses, there we go. 127.0.0.1. Let's look at the second one. Looks like we got more detailed information there. And we're just getting the : 1. I think that has to do with the fact that this is a virtual machine. So, and that's our IPv6. I don't think it's giving the virtual machine one. So, and then also our Yeah, so that's it for that. To take a look at our client server addresses. Another instance to look at, another useful, super useful thing we can do with PowerShell and DNS. Let's go ahead and do a clear, is to clear the cache. Very common thing you would need to do network diagnostic wise. So let's go ahead and just do the DNS client, excuse me, clear DNS client cache. And that went ahead and cleared our cache. So it doesn't really give you any feedback. And, let's do a get help and see if we can figure out how it gives us feedback. To be honest, I'm not sure off the top of my head. Yep, sim session, confirm, throttle limit. Okay, so really not a whole lot. Get here, clear DNS client cache. Yeah, there's really not a lot to it. That's about it. As job, when the command line's a background job. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it was a remote session. Yeah, just the confirm would probably be about the only thing. And then if you're trying to do some type of throttle limit and then what if, so really common stuff. I mean, we could go ahead and do the confirm. It just kind of goes ahead and does it. Say, are you sure? Just yes. That would be about it. So again, clearing the cache is good if you've got a domain name whose records may have changed and you're having issues resolving to it. So somewhat common thing. Just had to bring up that there was a commandlet to do it within PowerShell. So that is about it for the DNS diagnostic things that I'm going to go over today on this. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson. Hello and welcome back, fellow PowerShell engineers. We're now going to take a look at making some code in ChatGPT related to automation with network diagnostics. Let's go ahead and make a new chat right there. And something I've wanted to do for a while is just ask it to just make a general tool, a general diagnostic tool. So let's go ahead and just ask it to write a PowerShell script to that has general network diagnostic tools. That uses, man, I cannot spell today. Windows Forms. All right. All right, seen some good stuff here, but let's go ahead and do the copy code. And see what we've got. All right, we got a ping and a traceroute, ping result. So let's go ahead and do a 8.8. Gosh, I really cannot type today. 8. And let's do a ping on that. Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's just the success time or not, or like the time it took to send the packets or get the response of the packets. Let's go ahead and do a trace route. And remember, the trace routes take a second sometimes. All right. And again, not super readable either, but definitely there. Got your results there. So let's back out of that. And let's go ahead. Say now tell or have it give a response of a success rate as a percentage and I also want to have it add each hop into a row of a data grid. So now make each hop of the trace route a row in a data grid instead of, we'll just say that. All right, let's give that a run. Ooh. Control 0, did it not run it? No, actually, it looks like it didn't stop, didn't continue generating. Missed that, got a little ahead of myself. Do a copy code. All right, now, this is looking kind of cool. Now let's do the same thing. Oh, except it added success rate separately. Still give it a ping. Yeah, why did it not just give me a percentage of pings? All right, interesting. Let's do the trace route, see if we can populate the data grid successfully. But it didn't give us the rows. Yeah, so it's still pretty cool though. I mean, it's definitely way more readable than we had. So a couple things to go back to it with. Make the width of the hop column 100%. Okay. So add the column. So actually, it just gives us this little segment here. Should close it. And do a squeegee. Actually, I'm not sure I give it back to me the way I want. So I still have more things I want to do anyway. So let's also remove the success rate. I'll run this again too while it's doing that. So the ping result, I just want it to be successful or not successful, right? I don't need how many milliseconds it took to send the packets or receive the packets back. So make the ping result say either successful or unsuccessful, depending on the ping. Okay, let's see what it gave us now. Window's not quite big enough, but this is looking better. Okay, let's go ahead and do a ping. Successful. Bam. That's what I want. That's what I'm talking about. And let's do a trace route. And again, keep in mind these take a second. Okay, but now we're removing my data grid. All right. So let's get the data grid back. All right, so yeah, I just gave him that block earlier. I think that's, well, no, because I asked it to do the row. That's right. Yeah, to continue generating. See if the hop row is at 100%, but so go ahead and give it a run again. All right, hop. Okay, so we did this a little differently this time. It's interesting. 8.8. Let's do the trace route. Let's do that first. We'll still double check the ping, but main goal here is to see the result of that. All right, still didn't make the address %, but that works for me. And let's do a ping. And the ping is successful, obviously. If it got this far, it made no sense to do that in that order, but still, I was just curious to see that this functionality was there. So, yeah, I still want the address, and I don't know how to do this off the top of my head, and this is what's cool about doing ChatGPT stuff. So we'll head back over to ChatGPT. The columns in the data grid fill the data grid. And I meant to say, and also give me the whole script. Okay, cool. Fill the available space. See, a lot of times too, when it gives me a feedback like that, it's like, okay, that's what I needed to ask, right? Maybe a little more precise. All right, we'll copy the code, we'll go back. Give it a run again. Ooh, a little bit better here. Let's do a ping. Cool, let's do a trace route. Perfect. All right, that's pretty sweet. Like it. You know what else would be cool though? Progress bar. So I'm going to ask it to add a progress bar that shows the progress of the ping and of the trace route when they are running. Let's see if it can pull this off. Or have I gone too far? And will the progress bar work? And again, version of this obviously is works way better, way faster, especially for once you start. It's like, okay, we're getting up there in line count on this script. Right, let's go. All right, already a little disappointed that it cut off the buttons there. Let's do a ping. Ah, the progress bar didn't work. Of course, I don't even see one. All right, successful. Assume we're going to be, oh, there it is. Still, though, did not work. Tried to. Not giving up on the progress bar. Let's see if I can fix the error here. All right. So yeah, then do a different method. I doubt it's my system. I mean, this is a Windows Server 2022. You know. All right, let's give it a shot again. Still not quite there on the width. It also didn't say I was going to update the ping. Let's see if it does the trace route okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm struggling there with it to make that update. Still, overall good diagnostics route. So what I'm going to do is have it remove progress bar. It just gets us back to where we were. Let's give that a run again. We'll close this one. All right, good deal. Just make sure that these work again. All right, very cool. Could have it tweak this, but I think that's all right. All right, let's exit out of that
And let's see if we can add one more piece of functionality. Ability to conduct a port scan for a specific port. I'm surprised we didn't add any DNS abilities. You know, we could do an NS lookup. We'll add that too. All right, very cool. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, cool. All right, our ping result still there. Ooh, wait. So our traceroute result is now gone. So let's try to do also too. Am I port scanning with the ping or the traceroute button? All right, that does not appear to have worked. So let's go ahead and back that out. So we'll have it remove the port scan functionality. Let's just say undo the last change. So I think it's starting to get confused. I think you have to get a little more specific. It's like, okay, what am I? All right, yeah, I just want that result back. All right. So let's see if it actually brought us back. Actually, we're not done generating there. Oh yeah, cool, brought us back. So maybe we want to make the data grid a little smaller for the traceroute result. We could honestly just do that ourselves, but we can add a port scanning feature beneath all of this, which I think would be a better functionality. So that's where it got kind of confused. So let's go back there. All right. And we also want to call it out to resize the form because it doesn't always do that. And we'll go snag the code. Guys, I'm leaving some of these errors in here too to just show like this is what it's really like doing this stuff. But we've gotten quite a ways for not having actually built anything. Where we're at here now. So I'll do my ping, make sure that works. Do my traceroute. I assume this is my data grid for that. Oh, still messed up. All right, let's go back and undo the last change. Now, when I asked to do that, yeah, I did say, and I didn't say below the data grids too, but we had those buttons a little lower. So just make sure we get what we want back. All right, I'm gonna get a little ambitious here. Ask it to do something crazy. Create 2 tabs. Let's make a multi-tab app here. All right, let's see if it did that successfully. Just almost. Let's see if it works. All right, looking good. It doesn't look like that's working. Let's go ahead and X that out. And we'll get this error back. And let it know just so it can fix it, because I think that's actually fixable. Yeah, it just wasn't rendering the data grid view correctly. All right, let's see what we got now. Oh yeah, it looks like the columns weren't there, so that's cool. I think we should be good now. Gotta love it when you can just pop the error back to it. Makes it perfect. So let's go and just double check the ping that works. All right, perfect. All right, cool. Now we can add that second tab that's got a port scanner in it. So I'll add a second tab as a port scanner that accepts the hostname, IP, port number, displays the result of the port scan. Getting kind of crazy. Keep generating the response. And this is starting to get kind of big, right? So looks like it's building a function with try catches in it. Okay, wow, yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's give it a go. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty sweet. All right, let's make sure it all works. Oh, I see we're missing columns again. I don't know why it would regenerate it without having the columns. Over here, let's see what we can get. And it made up a commandlet. Classic. All right, let's got this error. Scan port function is not defined within the script. Actually, it was, but I wonder what would happen if we top. Yeah, so it actually was defined. So really the only error, it just didn't place it in the script correctly. So we'll let it keep going, but we still have that issue with the data grid again. Maybe it fixes it this time. It's still putting the function at the bottom. So let's give it a shot. See if it yeah, you can't define the function if it you can't call a function if it defines the function later. Cool. Again, I'm not seeing columns here, but I think we'll have to attempt the trace route to get that error. I'll get the exact. All right, we'll just call it right there. So I'm going to have it fix both of those things for me. I don't know why that does that. Again, we don't need the whole thing. All right. All right, we've got the function defined first. We'll do continue generating. Keep continue generating. All right, perfect. And it knows about the data grid. It's kind of weird that it does some of those things twice, but all right, let's give this a go. Still not seeing those columns. The columns aren't there, but the function was in the right spot now. Yep. So the function is in the right spot. Still not seeing the columns, even though it said that it. Take the whole thing. Bring it up again. See if it adds the rows correctly this time. If not, I'll just go ahead and convert the response to a label and we'll call it good on this script because I've already spent a bit of time on this and this is how you can wind up chasing it sometimes. It's still very cool to see how it operates, but yeah, I mean, it's the same number of rows. Yeah, there's just not there. All right. So put the results of the traceRoute a label instead of a data grid. Go way down. Did I grab the wrong script? Hang on a second. Oh, no, it didn't. Yeah, we'll go to the bottom. We'll just get it. Perfect. Or even continued correctly. Huh. All right. Do this. Do our ping. our traceroute. Yep, perfect, cool. Again, I'm clicking buttons too. If I'm giving this to an end user, they're clicking buttons instead of having to know these commands, right? So do a scan and it's open. So I realized we took a minute with this, and it is just because of how finicky the Windows forms are, but still very cool to see that it can build a tabbed GUI, and all we'd have to do is tweak these widths here ourselves. I wouldn't even ask it to do that. We could hop in here and find the elements, but definitely cool to build a network diagnostic tool GUI. Realize we're about 39 minutes into it, but wound up playing with it a little more than I had planned, but still pretty cool. So, all right, that's about it for this lesson. We'll see you in the next one.